All right. So there
Yeah.
it's recording. All right. So what were some of the positive results? What were some of the positive results from the pilot program?
From the pilot. So it created this momentum because there were all these people who were like interested from a lot of different backgrounds, and also a lot of mentors that were also interested. So I think it gives you when you create a pilot like this, the first thing you can identify is how much are people interested in something like this and mentoring opportunities.
That's true.
Yeah, I agree. I think it also introduced a level of commingling that probably wasn't there before. It got some of the higher ups within the company to utilize the skills that they have and encourage people below them to improve their skills and have more pride, I guess is the word, to work better within their company.
Right. I thought it made morale. It boosted morale.
Right.
And,
that was one of the sections.
Yes. And I think, I don't remember how many, but there was like 7 of the mentees.
Mm-hmm.
And silly me, I never really heard of that word. So anyway, 7 mentees got promotions.
I thought it was a typo. I was like, I don't know what this is.
Well, and just looking at like the, it sounded like they did like an exit interview with how they felt about the program, and just looking at those stats, most of the people either felt that it really helped them and they like really enjoyed the program as a whole, and they thought it gave them like more access to things in the company, and like you said, 7 of them got promoted.
Right.
So it seemed like it was pretty beneficial as a whole.
Right. Yes. Agreed. Okay. And then next question is to list the reasons for the positive results. I think we kind of went over that. I think we covered that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything to add as far as what you think might have helped the program to go well?
Well, in the second section, there was this list of testimonials from people who participated on it.
Right.
And there was this person who was considering leaving the company, right? Because this person thought that they were not like sufficient opportunities of learn. And but once this person went through the program, he realized that he could actually stay in the same company, and actually this person moved to HR, said that then he had this opportunity to show how creative he was, or she was. I don't remember if it was a he or she. But yeah, that it brought new learning opportunities, and she could find the best place, a best position to work at within the company.
Yeah.
And I actually that actually built more like engagement and loyalty towards the company.
Yeah, loyalty for sure. Definitely. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and there was this. They had this benefit that is super nice, that the company could pay for their schooling. So when they were to meet with their mentors would tell them, "Hey, I'm back in school. I think you should do the same. You have this benefit that you should take advantage of." So, yeah, that was really great.
Yes, that's a huge benefit to have part of your schooling paid for, even if it's 10%. My employer does 10%, but.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so part 2 of our mentoring discussion. How can mentoring help employees with career development?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How can mentoring help employees with career development?
Oh.
Well, it definitely, well, you said it earlier, like opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Having a mentor.
I think having a mentor kind of sets an example to like the younger people too, like people just entering a company, and they can also ask like their opinions too. Younger people can ask their mentors their opinions about the company, decide if they want if it's a company that they want to stick with.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also
That's very
Sorry,
true.
go ahead.
Oh, well, I remember going through a similar program, mentoring program, and I remember that on my first meeting, I was with the head of recruiting for HR, and I really had no. The only thing I knew is that I wanted to learn new stuff. She helped me like kind of narrow down what my interests were, and based on that, then she could find me a good mentor to explain to me all the areas and possible tasks that I could perform if I was to that department. So I think it gives you a broader vision of all the possibilities that you have. Because there's no career development unless you choose a career path and then you set goals that lead you towards your goals, right? So it's not just
Right.
random.
Very cool. I'll tell you what, I mean, I feel like I always use my job as an example, but seriously, I have this, it's just an odd job. My title is specially funded clerk. I work at an elementary school, and for my job, there was seriously zero training. They just threw you in there and said, well, so you need to buy some equipment, buy some ink. Luckily, our secretary had done my job before and was able to kind of walk me through some of it. But for the most part, you are on your own and you have to figure it out by yourself.
I don't understand how they think that's going to be successful.
Exactly. And the scarier part is I manage like federal funds for the school, and we're talking like $80,000 that they're just like, oh,
Figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'm worried about Susan.
I know. She just,
Did
she check her?
do you know how to paste the link on the conversation?
Yeah, here, let me see if that'll work.
Mm-hmm.
And just send it to her and
Yeah, maybe
Send
just
it in
paste it
this
on the
chat.
conversation. Yeah, in the chat.
here, let me see. Okay.
What did I do?
All right, so while we're kind of waiting, what do you guys think are other approaches or programs that might help employees develop their careers?
So my husband has been with his company for going on 5 years this year, and one of the things that they do, we talked about this at the beginning, but like at the beginning of our group meetings, is yearly evaluations, which I think is a common thing within companies. But one of the things that they do a little bit differently is they have his supervisor meet with him, and then that supervisor's also, the supervisor's supervisor, also meet with them, so that they're all three there and they're all taking accountability for improving their tasks together. And so he mentioned to them once that once a year wasn't really effective, because it always happens in December. You know, a whole year has passed when they could have made improvements throughout the year. So they started doing things, not exactly the evaluation, but just meeting more frequently in order to improve communication on the things that they're working on throughout the year. So it's not necessarily a program, but it's something that they do to develop his career, and that's the path that they're improving his workload every year, every time that they meet.
Okay. Wow.
So
I think keyword accountability.
yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that
on both
when he started there, like he was feeling all this pressure and wondering like, how can he improve and do better? And I go, that's kind of on them to help you learn and grow within the company. And they want to keep him long-term. They have goals. A few people above him are retiring in the next 5 years. So it's all leading up to him taking over positions in the future. And one of the things that they need to do is make sure he's ready for that. So once I kind of pointed that out to him, that it's on them to show him, but he also needs to, you know, step up and do the work and just make sure everyone's being accountable. So that's my only experience with this kind of thing.
Awesome. Thanks. Susan, you made it.
Hello. So they sent me a link, and that's the only way I was able to get in.
Yay, Civic saved the day. Okay. So we were talking about the pilot program, and we're talking about mentoring right now. So we've just been discussing like the positive results of the pilot program and talking about how mentoring in the workplace can help employees to like develop and further their careers. So has anyone had any experiences with mentoring, either as the mentor or the mentee? And
I didn't even think mentee was a word.
That's what I said. Oh my gosh.
Anyways, I have not had any experience with that, but I've read some books about that, and I think that their pilot program took a long time to get launched, but it's great to have a mentor to be able to show you the ropes. That's how we learn, when we teach each other.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
So over the summer, I did an internship with the BLM office in Idaho Falls, and I had kind of worked there before, but it was just like part-time seasonal, and I was at a new office. And so the manager of the office kind of took me under his wing, and he was like my mentor for, you know, my school internship. But it was like really helpful because we used a lot of different programs, and it's like a lot of ordering supplies for the BLM and stuff for fires and stuff like that. And that's something I had been interested in doing as a career. So it was really helpful because he was always there to show me the ropes. And when I had questions, he made it easy to like, he'd walk me through it. And it wasn't like oh, you should know this by now, like figure it out on your own thing. It was like, okay, I know this is hard. We'll work through it. You're going to figure it out and get it signed off by the end of the day. So I don't know. Personally, I had a really good experience. I'm sure that's not how it is for everyone because not everyone loves their boss, but.
But Grace, do you think that that was a make or break? If you didn't have that mentor, would you have not learned and not done well?
I definitely think so and a lot of that time I was working night shift too. So I was only with him for maybe 2 hours out of the day altogether at first. And like in my previous job, because we were seasonals, we weren't like allowed to do like the ordering and stuff because we were new and we could mess things up or whatever. But I was definitely given a lot more opportunity to learn, and it was really beneficial and helped me decide that's like kind of what I want to do, if that makes sense.
It does. Good job.
Yes. Yeah. That is very cool. I wish I had a mentor for my current job.
I suppose that's why they give you the 1 year waiting period, because they want to see if you're going to be able to pull it together in that time frame.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've never formally been a mentor, but like I was saying, this, the position that I work in, all of the elementary schools here in Bakersfield have a specially funded clerk, and their job descriptions will actually vary based on the school site. So like I do manage budgets and I purchase, but then I also help with like yard duty and all the awards assemblies, community stuff. And so we just create a network. So I'll have other clerks call me and say, hey, how do you process the paperwork for this? Or so we've just created a network amongst ourselves to kind of be mentors to each other, because you seriously, Susan, I was earlier that my job, they just throw you in. They have expectations, but yet they don't teach you how to do any of it. And there's like specific software that you have to use, and nobody trains you on it.
Wow, sounds like a doohickey paper.
Yeah.
So
It sure could be.
I just think that's interesting because, okay, so I had a business for 8 years. So I kind of was a mentor for anybody that would help me or work with me. But I think if you're not interested in having a mentor, it's a big, giant key. Because when I sold the business, the lady, she didn't ask me questions. She didn't want, she just really didn't want any input. And hence, she defaulted on the loan, and now I have to sell the business again. So, it's really important for us to seek that learning.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that the papers that we were reading and we're discussing today, it was so in-depth and so much. It was so blown out of proportion to me that how could they possibly implement 72 new things to do? That's why it didn't work. It was too broad. So when they kept it to that 25 mentees and mentors, that seemed to be, they found the space that it would work. So it just seems like you have to want to be mentored.
Yeah,
that's true.
To make it successful.
And for the right reasons too, because there were some managers that were worried employees would be away from their daily tasks, and that was a big challenge for them. And I saw that when I saw like a mentoring program working, and I knew that there were some employees that would enroll to anything that would take them away from their daily tasks. That's terrible, but it happens. So the fact that you're limiting your the people that you can mentor to 25, I think that works pretty good. So you can have on board managers who not everyone's going to be admitted to the program, and those who enroll like several periods in a row, that's the people who are actually really interested in just not just excuses not to work. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Hey, Kaylee, you've been quiet. Hope we're not talking over you.
Really?
You're muted.
Your mic is.
You're muted. Sorry.
Start over.
This paper was kind of confusing for me to understand, so it's interesting to listen to all of you guys' thoughts. So.
Okay. All right. So moving on, analyzing the program. Do you guys think that a less formal mentoring program would be better, where the mentees are free to find to help them progress in their careers rather than being assigned to someone? No?
No.
I kind of liked that part, that they matched them.
Right.
Yes.
They put thought into it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and it seemed like from the like statistics or whatever at the end, like the what's it called, the survey they did.
Yeah.
That for the most part, everyone liked who their mentor was. So it seemed like they did a good job of carrying them off.
Yeah.
I thought so too. Yeah. Okay.
I like also how they were prepared in case that there was a mentor and mentee that couldn't get along. The policy was, we're not just gonna give a different mentor or mentee. You're gonna have to work through it. And if that doesn't work, if you can't figure it out on your own, work, then we will assist you to make it. But there was not a point where they were gonna actually choose to assign you to someone else. That was also a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
I like that they had the coordinator, Amy, to go in and help them to work out their problems. So they didn't just say, work it out like we do with our kids. Sometimes it's just like, oh, you guys just get along. Anyways, it was nice that she was able to work it out so that they were able to work together.
Right. I agree. Okay, so I'm starting to get the feeling Brother Cochran does not want to join us.
I know. Here, let me check my email and see if he's responded at all.
Okay. Okay. And I'm going to move along with these questions.
He has not.
Why would a company want to create a formal mentoring program rather than allowing mentoring relationships to form more naturally?
Because without the assertion of this program, maybe somebody's not going to take the initiative to ask for help or offer help.
That's so true. And even in the sorry, go ahead.
I think that's when people start to get left out too, because it's kind of like the picking sides thing, like when you're in elementary school. How you pick teams for PE and stuff like that. It's kind of like that for.
Right, and that's
true.
The shy person who was able to change, because if you're a little bit shy on speaking in public or groups, then you're going to tend to hold back. And so, yeah, I think when it's something that's available and you sign up for it, it makes it more a better opportunity for learning and growth.
And I think, didn't it say that like the mentors and the mentees were all volunteer? Well, obviously the mentees were all applied for it, but like the mentors were volunteering.
Yeah.
I think that definitely helped, because you don't want to assign someone a job that they don't want, and then they're not going to put the effort and the time into it because they don't care.
Right.
Exactly.
Good point.
Exactly. And I mean, even in that case, I think the first part, they said that they had started a mentoring program and then it just kind of
fizzled,
fell away. No, there was no follow through. So yeah, I think if a company tried to just do it informally, it probably would never come together.
Right.
Failed to launch.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you guys think might have been improved in the Federal Reserve Bank program?
That's the question?
Yep. What might have been improved in the Federal Reserve Bank program?
Aside from the things we already talked about? Am I missing something?
Right? I feel like they ask the same questions, just reword it a little differently.
They're trying to get us to dig deeper. Well, if that's a good question, it's my opinion that the red tape, the bureaucratic red tape of the wasted 7 years from the beginning of them trying to start it. I know your video, this is on live, but I just went, what a waste of time, money, effort, energy, because they didn't even follow through. It's like what a waste. It's like the government. It's a waste of money and time. And so there's my 2 cents on how to improve the Federal Reserve, like I know anything about it. It just seemed like it was very wasteful for many years.
I agree. There's a lot of government waste.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So.
Why do you think less people signed up for the second round?
I did think that was interesting. There were so many in the first one that they had to turn people away, and then the second round, even though it seemed to be successful, less people signed up. I don't have a reason for that. So,
well, I know why. Well, they didn't have so much because they didn't do any advertising. They didn't do all of the stuff that they.
I guess that's right. They assumed it would just get around by word of mouth and based on the people who had interest the first time and didn't make it.
Yeah, and so it proves that all of those things, the flyers, the website, everything was effective with the first one because they didn't do that the second time. That just proved that they did a great job on their advertising campaign for the first time.
I think the celebration event helped a lot for the third round because they could see success cases. So if they have done that at the end of the first round before starting a new cycle for round 2, I think that would have helped too. Because I don't think they were really involved, like you said, in advertising and all that for the second round. So that helped for the third one.
Yeah.
So
right.
They need to know it's working.
Right.
And maybe also show some stats. Like not because you're promising or guaranteeing that once you are on the mentor program you will be promoted or switch to a different area, but just how things can potentially change for you individually.
I'm sorry, if I had heard people were getting promoted, I would be like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Right, if it can further your career.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily promoted, but maybe just, how do you call it, a horizontal change. You don't have to be promoted, just on the same level that you are, but on an area that you will probably enjoy more.
Well, I thought it was interesting that when they started it, they said, one of the paragraphs, it said, based on, oh, no, it was before that. They said that they had loyal employees and they had everything that they were trying to start up in the mentoring program. They already were loyal employees, but maybe more of a dictatorship. So, you know, I don't know, maybe the mentoring program's objective was to make it more of a voluntary communication back and forth instead of this is how you're going to do it. Because it said they were already loyal employees. So who's that noise?
Are you guys hearing that?
Yeah, what is that?
Back, I don't know what that is.
My daughter's making cookies, so that's the mixer right now. We have 3 young women at 5. We're doing a service project tonight, and she's in charge of it. So I'll put myself on mute while she's mixing. So sorry.
Just didn't know what it was.
Hey, can we have some?
Yeah. Have
Too
her
bad
bake
we
us
can
up.
smell it.
Sorry. Okay. So what's our next question, Jane?
All right. So do you guys think with that mentoring program that they had, should they expand or keep it small?
I think they should keep it small. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. I agree. I think they should keep it small as well.
Yeah. Third that motion.
I agree. Yeah, I think the success was because it was manageable and small.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. In the second one, which was not so popular or not so productive, when they went to 30, it just wasn't as good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it made me, I question why they would go to 30 if they said that 25 was the good number. So.
Okay. All right. This next question, I'm going to ask it anyway. I think it's kind of silly, but how do they get more people? How do they get more people without forcing them to be involved?
Make the program appeal to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Turn their advertising campaign back on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they need to do a better job at letting everyone know why this would be helpful for them.
Right. And I also think that the follow-up was key in that, because the word of mouth is the greatest advertising there is. And so once they went through the program and the positive things could be shared more easily. I like those testimonials they had at the end of the paper to tell about their experiences.
Right.
So that follow-up was really important.
Okay. I agree. How can they encourage people who really need mentoring to get mentored?
It's the same question,
tough.
but
it is. It's. I mean,
how what? I'm sorry.
How can they encourage people who really need mentoring to get mentoring?
I have to find my read it.
I guess you really can't force people to do anything that they don't want to do.
Right.
So it really just has to be, if they want to be mentored, then they have that option to get a mentor.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, there was this section about, let's say that you're having your annual performance review,
Mm-hmm.
and you as a manager notice that you have an employee that has been stuck with the same kind of work for years or months or whatever. As a manager, if there has to be this culture that you're trying to help your people develop and grow, right?
Right.
So you could actually add that, because they said that it's not necessarily part of the performance review, but it was part of the conversation. Like, hey, I see that you have been doing mentoring. So how's that going on for you? Like, your supervisor is responsible to ask you about your progress. But they could also bring up the possibility like, hey, you're doing really great. Have you ever considered probably taking advantage of the mentoring program? Just to bring it up and explain how that could impact their skills in the company.
Right.
I think that could be a way to, because so when they say people who need mentoring is people who have the potential, but maybe they don't know that mentoring is available for them. No.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get an employee that is no longer motivated to do their jobs, and before thinking about replacing them or whatever, you have to find out, like, okay, maybe they are not feeling appreciated enough, or they feel that
Mm-hmm.
they are not using all their abilities in their current position.
That's a very good point. I think the article, the definitive guide to recruiting in good times and bad, it talked about how like new employees get all that extra attention when they're first starting. It's usually employees that have already been with the company that don't get, you know,
The attention.
the attention. Even these mentoring, the mentee opportunities. There's that word.
Yeah.
So I compared that to being a member of the church, and how if you're an active member, you know, you're kind of invisible sometimes, but if you're inactive, you get invited to dinner, you get a lot of attention from everybody in the ward. And
That's a good point.
That's funny. That is a good point.
But, you know, a little bit of that has to do with taking the initiative, like inserting yourself, making sure that your needs are being met. The reason active members aren't focused on is because we're being responsible for our own, you know, gospel learning and participation in church and activities and things like that. I think that applies to your job also. If you just treat it as a job and it's just a paycheck, then of course you're not going to progress and grow and move up within the company. But if this is your career and you're motivated and dedicated to it, then I think you treat it differently.
right, and that's what
It's a good comparison.
I was trying to find my glasses so I could read this. What I had underlined. It was the greatest benefit, is one of the circle group mentees said, that the peer networking and support as the greatest benefit of their mentoring experience, because when they work together, like you did with your company, Jane, they also appreciated the structure of the program to keep them on track with their goals, because the monthly reminder of what they needed to be doing to improve yourself and develop professionally, because we get caught up in the mundane, everyday thing, and we forget to work on those goals that we've made. So that's why their networking helped to keep it going.
That is very true. Thanks for sharing that. So, and if you guys were in charge of that mentoring program, what would you guys do?
I would, wait, what was her name? Brinker something. I would make sure Amy was on my team. She could handle all of the problems and difficulties. Hire Amy.
I don't know. I guess just communication and encouragement are things that'll help that kind of program be successful.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. I like how naturally the program naturally demanded for a person who would work for that program full time. So a company has to be aware that it's going to be a full-time job, and just how demanding it's going to be eventually. So it has to be, if you're going to start something like that, it has to be a permanent program. You cannot just start and leave it to die. Right.
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 Yeah.
Okay. So those were all the questions. Yep. And I'm sad for Brother Cochran if he.
So annoyed.
So were we going to talk about doohickey after the case study discussion? Is that?
Yeah, I think if we're done with this, we can turn the live portion off and start talking about our paper.
Right.
All right. Okay, so that was the last question. I'm going to stop.